My litmus test for whether I consider a game to be great is a very simple one. After finishing it, do I spend time thinking about it? Not in the sense of it had a cool mechanic or the plot twist was neat, but in that quiet, involuntary way where the game lingers in your mind like the echo of a dream. Most games fade out like static, but some, very few, stay with you, almost as if the experience of playing that game has invoked something beyond words. And Stalker is one of those games. After finishing it, I kept wondering, why do I find myself so immersed in this game? This is a question that other people have also asked, to which others have replied, it is the gunplay. Tight, weighty, and unexpectedly modern even in the original trilogy. Others have praised its A-Life system, the invisible hand behind every living NPC. For some, it is its graphics, the rusted and surreal look of the original trilogy, or the photorealistic world of Stalker 2. And many say it is the zone itself, the atmosphere, the bleak romance of radioactive ruin. These answers are all true, but they are also insufficient, for words can describe the ingredients but not the taste. It is like describing a sunset by listing the wavelengths of light. In Gestalt psychology, the whole is greater than the sum of its part. And for Stalker, it definitely holds true. But to understand what sort of feeling this whole ends up bringing out of you, we have to step outside the world of games for a moment. And instead, we have to look at something far older, far more delicate. A concept from Japanese aesthetics, YUGEN. To describe the feeling of YUGEN, there is no English equivalent word. And what it signifies is an awareness of universe that triggers emotional response, too deep and powerful for words. But I like Alan Watts' explanation. For him, YUGEN meant, in a way, digging change. He described YUGEN by saying, you have the feeling of YUGEN when you see out in the distant water some ships hidden behind a far-off island. You have the feeling of YUGEN when you watch wild geese suddenly seen and then lost in the clouds. You have the feeling of YUGEN when you look across Mount Tamalpais and you see the sky beyond, and you have never been to the other side. You don't go over there to look and see what is on the other side. That wouldn't be YUGEN. You let the other side be the other side, and it invokes something in your imagination, but you don't attempt to define it or pin it down. And if even that fails to capture it, think back to the moment you looked up at the stars and wondered whether, on some distant world at that same exact moment, someone else was gazing upwards and asking the very same question. Most AAA games often mistake immersion for visibility. Look at this, look at more, look at everything.
How can I be immersed in zombies when 3/4 of my screen is data, colors, UI, radars, information? I can barely see the game. I'm playing World of Warcraft. This is like a fucking raid battle, man. What is this shit?
But YUGEN asks, do you see behind the veil? And Stalker, intentionally or not, embodies YUGEN like almost no other game. But you can't explain how or why YUGEN happens, so instead I will talk about when it happens. In most games, the world revolves around you. You are the chosen one, the hero, the gravitational center of that universe. But in Stalker, the universe barely acknowledges you. The zone does not care about your quest. The zone does not adjust itself for your convenience. It almost feels like the zone does not even wait for you to arrive before something happens. Almost like a gentle reminder that we are not the protagonist. When you hear a distant gunshot and no quest marker like a Ubisoft game appears, those moments, because of its lack of scripted events, feel genuine. A moment where you were merely passing through, a moment where you were a witness, not an author, a lone consciousness inside a system far larger and complex than you. And this is where YUGEN occurs, where things happen regardless of your doing, and its focus is on change. That is happening, not change of your doing. In a game world where everything is intricately created for the player, no thing is left to the imagination. But in the zone, things unfold without you, where change arises spontaneously, where the rhythm of its world continues in your absence. There, immersion becomes something beyond words. Like a YouTube video of someone eating food, but not a word is said. You don't watch that video because you were able to taste the food. You watch it because the focus shifts from you to something else entirely. To do something is to exert control. To witness something is to surrender control. Modern games love control. Stalker loves surrender. You walk through a field, a gust of wind rattles the grass.
Don't be a jerk, holster your weapon.
While some stalkers are sitting under a roadside shade beneath a campfire. And deep down you know that the next time you are there, these guys won't be here. None of this is for you. None of it requires your involvement. None of it pauses when you turn away. These are not events you triggered. They are events you stumbled upon. They are happenings, not doings, where you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. Koans are like riddles, and in Zen tradition, it generally is asked to see if the seeker of truth can see through the riddle and find a moment of break from the usual patterns of the mind. Instead, to have a taste of emptiness that persists in an ever-existing present. For the meanings of koans are not there for someone to understand this moment, but to experience it. An example of a koan would be, when the many are reduced to one, to what is the one reduced? In my opinion, Zone often acts like a koan. If you are a type of player that often needs to be told what to do, it is true that the quest for stalkers at times are bare bones, half of them even uninteresting. But like the saying goes, it's the journey, not the end. And it is the journey through this process of going on missions that is the focus of the zone. And if you're looking for a reward at the end of the mission, most often you're gonna miss the forest for the trees. The journey is mostly only as hostile or cathartic to your existence as you want it to be, where you are on the cusp of forgetting about everything else that is happening in your real life. The survival within Zone doesn't depend on mastery itself, but on attentiveness. And it is in these moments when YUGEN happens. If you are like me who likes to turn off background music and combat music in Stalker games, you slowly learn to appreciate these moments where the zone requires your attention. You listen to the rustling wind, a subtle footstep, other stalkers chatting in the zone, all of it working together like a musical note, none more important than the other. Most game worlds encourage planning or stuff to do in order to immerse you. Stalker encourages awareness. And if this doesn't make sense, think about horror games. And if they scare you, why do you think that is? You stop thinking in terms of objectives. You start thinking in terms of moments. Luckily, Stalker is environmental horror as well. Is that a sound of a mutant or something else? Why are the leaves circling over there? Is it an anomaly or just normal wind effects? Why is it suddenly quiet? All of these moments slowly culminate in rhythm where mystery becomes meaning. Consider your daily routine, the walk to work, the familiar streets, the predictable sequences of life, even familiar faces down the street. Most of it feels repetitive, almost like being stuck in a limbo. But every now and then, something disrupts the pattern. A stranger's gesture, an unexpected conversation, roadside drama, a sudden shift in weather. And in that disruption, life feels real again. And YUGEN is digging change. Without these changes, there is no surprise or mystery. The rhythm becomes predictable and the world meaningless. So when Stalker 2 came out but its A-Life system was missing along with optimization issues, the players, reasonably so, were upset. I had not played Stalker 2 or any Stalker at that time and moment, so all this news seemed a bit excessive other than the performance issues. For on the surface, the world looked so immersive. But having played these games now, I can see why most of the OGs were upset. Without this A-Life system, the world becomes like any other AAA open world. There is no change. And all mystery becomes so self-curated that it loses its meaning, where you start to notice the rhythm and thus it becomes monotonous. Thankfully, they did fix it in Stalker 2, at least in patch 1.7 it seems to be working. And due to that, each journey on your mission has same rhythm but a different tone. It can be due to the weather, the time of the day, the weapon you are carrying, and to further make it more unique, A-Life makes it so that you might move through familiar routes, recognize familiar landmarks, adapt to the logic of the zone, but then something changes. A firefight breaks out where the last time there was nothing here. A mutant pack wanders into an area because of gun sounds while you were fighting the bandits. You might even be on a quest to assassinate someone, but midway you get the confirmation that they died to an anomaly. These moments are unpredictable and sometimes buggy, and because of that, they feel alive. When Mozart said, "The music is the silence between the notes," A-Life beautifully tries to capture that essence. The timing of silence and the notes always end up changing. So A-Life, at least most of the time, does beautifully end up capturing that essence, not by consistency of player-done actions, but interruptions that happen during these actions. So in conclusion, when people praise Stalker, when they speak of its atmosphere, its tension, its realism, they aren't just praising mechanics. They are using these words to ultimately try to describe their moments of YUGEN, their experience of stalking. Yeah, you know. Stalker is a unique game, and while I have tried to explain everything, it is like explaining what a pizza tastes like. Unless you have ate a pizza, you won't know exactly what it tastes like. But if I have made you curious enough to go ahead and dive into it, please do. I myself started with a standalone mod named Memories of the Zone, and I can tell you, it's my 2025 Game of the Year. I know it came out years ago, but I played it this year, so yeah. Go be a wanderer, go be a stalker, but most importantly, go experience its YUGEN.